Okay, hello, how's it going? So, at the time of recording is the 24th of March. I'm supposed to work tonight, and once again, like I've been already saying, like the last week and the next week is probably going to be a lot of me running around and trying to make sure I have all my ducks in a row, as much as I can at least. It's a little bit after 10 a.m. and I haven't smoked anything. I did hit my vape. I have a weed vape, and I did hit that, I guess. But it's been a decent day so far. My boyfriend sent me $20 without prompt. I didn't ask. Like at 5 in the morning when he went to work, and then I had somebody give me a donation, like a $4 donation, and so, and then also on top of all that, I do have a ride to work. I know I've been complaining about my mother, but she's supposed to be taking me to work, and so that will save me a little bit of money, or a lot of bit of money, because those lifts be adding up, bro. And tomorrow is Wednesday, which is naturally TikTok day. Like, that's the day I get paid from TikTok, assuming that I did make any money from TikTok. And that'll be a nice pretty penny that I'm gonna save. And then on top of that, I'll also, whenever that happens, I'll get paid from tonight's work, because I get partial pay, so I'm able to get some of that money. And then Friday is also another payday, so I've just been doing my best to like try to save some of what I have, you know what I mean? Because I've been making money, that's not a problem, but saving has been an issue, so I'm doing a little bit better about that. Also, I did have somebody that I trust pull me cards, and it was really positive. They were talking about, because I basically asked them to pull me cards for April, and they basically said that things should be okay and I should be, taken care of to some degree, and there's nothing really for me to worry about. Which I already kind of understand that personally, but it was nice hearing that from somebody else, Because like I said, there's always options. I didn't say it in this video, but I've said it before. There's always options. I think a lot of people get stressed about feeling like they don't have options, but there's always options. Even if the option is laying down and dying, which is not the appropriate choice, but that is an option. That's a choice that you can make, to just lay down and take whatever life gives you, But I don't know about all that. I'm a transmuter. I'm an alchemizer. I like to transform shit. I don't just take what I'm given. I like to make it into something, It's kind of chilly this morning. I feel like the last week it's been really warm, but today it's really chilly. It's kind of the first time I'm outside, really. And I was on live stream. I had a nice YouTube live stream, a nice TikTok live stream, and then I went on TikTok again, and that was nice. And once again, I don't know what April's gonna look like, but I'm hoping and I'm praying that I can get what I need to transition and whatnot. Maybe I should post this week. I'm not sure. So if you happen to see this, you should definitely consider going to the link tree down below in the description, checking out the books that I have, streaming my music, all that stuff. Okay, two things. One thing is twofold. And I think it's interesting how our thoughts can unfold in this way, but I was observing something, and a thought came up of what to talk about for the video, and when I went with the train of thought. I didn't record anything about it until now, but so the original thought that I had was that a big problem with society is self-importance, people thinking that they're more important than they are. And I went along with that thought for a while, and I was gonna talk about it, but then I kept going with that train of thought, and I was also realizing that that thought was an assumption. Well, I mean, I don't think that in itself is an assumption, but specifically the people that I was observing that made me think that thought, that was an assumption, because I realistically have no way of knowing if those people like exhibit traits of self-importance. But that was the narrative that I went with, because I guess my self-importance, you know. And I believe in the law of assumption for sure, but I think a lot of people get it wrong, in the sense of like, if you're not actively trying to create your reality, you shouldn't necessarily be making assumptions about people. You should genuinely be trying to understand people. But I don't know, I think a lot of people make really harmful assumptions. Like, once again, if I were to go with the assumption that I just made about those people, those random people that I didn't even say hello to, like, maybe nobody would be affected by that, but to some degree it's like, that's not necessarily fair. Like, you didn't even say hello to those people. You don't even know what was going on in their heads, you know? Like, sure, being psychic is a thing, and sure, to some degree we can know things without knowing things, but sometimes I think when we develop our senses, we can fall into the trap of spiritual ego and spiritual narcissism, you know, thinking that we know more than we actually do, you know. And sometimes I have to like stop myself from falling into that, you know, because it can be so easy to fall into that, you know, thinking that you do know more than you actually do, thinking that you're more correct than you actually are. You know, sometimes you do have to pull yourself back and be like, okay, I don't actually know. I think I know. I want to know. I believe that I know, but I don't actually know in this moment, and that's okay. I said this in a previous video, but a lot of people like to say power corrupts, and to some degree that is true, but I think to some degree also what it is that power exposes what is already there. So if you have corruption within you and you get a little bit of power, you get a little bit of control, then that will be exposed. That will be more obvious, you know? And I do believe that's a big reason why a lot of people don't get to see the success that they wish for, because if they were to, they probably would be out of hand. And, you know, it's unfortunate, but some of the best of us, you know, have a wild side, have a dark side. And it's just the truth. It's not, you know, it wouldn't be truthful to say otherwise, because humanity is complex. Humanity is very dual in nature, so there's not one size fits all. But a lot of people like to believe that there is. A lot of people like to feel as though there was a one size fits all, but there's not. You know what I'm saying? There's all sorts of paths. There's all sorts of options that we can take for ourselves. And sure, some are ethically not okay, but, you know, there's no real right or wrong at the end of the day. It's just a matter of what feels aligned, what feels good, what feels right, you know? Not to say that you should only be seeking out what feels good, but, you know, once again, what feels right, what feels aligned, you know? Yeah. To go on that tangent, though, I think a lot of people want a one-size-fits-all, but you really do have to figure out what works for you specifically. You know what I mean? Like, sure, you can seek guidance, you can seek wisdom, seek whatever, but, like, at the end of the day, you're the one who has to choose what you choose for yourself. So, like, no matter what other people say or have to think about it, like, you still have to be the one who goes through it, you know? Also, I don't know if it's because I had coffee this morning, but I'm so out of breath. Like, I don't know if you could hear it in my voice, but I'm like, oh my, I'm like struggling just to fucking, gosh golly. Because I don't usually have coffee. Like, I'm already up. I don't really need an upper. I like the uppers, but I don't really need it, honestly. It really just amplifies what I already have. Like, I was diagnosed with ADHD. I already have, like, the energy, you know what I mean? Okay, there's a random dog. I don't know where the dog came from. I don't know where it's going, but there's a dog. I don't know if you can see the dog. It's right there. It almost walked up to me, but then I think it was scared. There was another dog that did the same fucking thing. It had I almost had a necklace. It had a chain on, and it was on my path. I was walking on the sidewalk, and it was there, and I was like, should I go to the other side of the street? And I was like, you know what, faith over fear. So I just kept going, and the dog was fucking afraid of me. Like, you know, they tried to come up to me. They wanted me to pet them, but then I tried to pet them, and then they freaked the fuck out, and it was like, went to tackle. And I'm like, okay, girl, you doing too much. So I just kept walking, and they kept trying to interact with me, but I'm like, girl, what the fuck is going on? You too scared. Get the fuck away from me. Like, that could be a message for somebody about somebody wanting to interact with you but also being afraid. You know, it's a really common thing, I guess, with a lot of spiritual people, like, unfortunately. You know, I don't know, I'm gonna end this here. I feel like I've just rambled. So hope you know miracles happen all the time. Hope you know God loves you. Hope you know whatever you're going through is temporary. So try to keep your head up, try to keep your spirits high, and I'll see you when I see you. Deuces, bye.